Now, as we have in the past, we have a couple of testimonials from caregivers, and right now we're going to hear one from Mr. Bonifacio Sanchez. He is a real estate broker in Clearwater who formerly bred and trained horses, operated a medical electronics firm, and sold pharmaceuticals. And he is someone who believes in investing in research on Alzheimer's for an Alzheimer's cure. Mr. Sanchez, please come up.
I gave my thumb drive to
Oh, okay, good.
There we go. Is that up there? Oh. Good morning. I want to thank Eileen for a couple of things. Number one, that was a very informative speech. As a caregiver, I say amen. And forgive me, I get emotional sometimes. But the other thing I want to thank her for is for not finding where this place was. Because when I got here with my angel, who helps can you hear me? When I got here with my angel, who helps me with my wife, we dropped her off at Maria's, and got here, couldn't find the damn place. And I look around and I see this fine young lady, and she's having the same difficulty. And I said, thank goodness, as an 86-year-old, and I'm really 85 and 63/64. As we progress in life and as we pass that bell curve, we start reverting to our youth. And as we were kids, ask you, how old are you? 4.5. When you pass 80, you start going fractions again. And as a caregiver who has a familial history of Alzheimer's, the other thing that I want to thank Eileen for was to put me at ease that I hadn't crossed the line, that I hadn't lost myself. This picture here is, I labeled the beginning. My mother was one of 6 children that was born in Tampa, and her mother was one of 12 children. We had a fairly large family. And my mother knew my wife's mother and father before they were married. They were friends. And actually, my mother introduced my wife's mother and father, and they got married. And I was born 9 days before Norma was. And my mother took me over to see Irma and Norma and Raymond when I was young. And I kid people that when I saw her, I peeked under the blanket and saw those pink booties, and I fell in lust. And a few years later, we fell in love. This is 1955, and we both graduated from the University of Florida, and we really didn't start dating until we were about juniors at Florida. Now, I forgot to mention to you that when you saw that initial photo of the 2 people, I don't know if we can get back to that first one. That's me on the left, labeled Bonnie. My name is Bonifacio, the nickname is Bonnie. And that's Norma on the right. And that's at my cousin's birthday party in Tampa. And you notice how clever my wife was to arrange herself to be next to me. And don't overlook the amazing look that she's given me at how great I am. And don't overlook how forward I am in acknowledging that. How we change. Now, since I only have 15 minutes to talk and Maria doesn't know me very well, sometimes it takes me 15 minutes to say hello. But when we got married, I said a vow, and I meant it. And as I told my children when they got married, my daughter-in-law and my son-in-law, before we walked down the aisle, I said, you know, you're going to say for better, for worse, till death do us part. Number one, don't forget it's natural causes. Don't go killing them. Number two, you'll have better and you'll have worse. And unless you're willing to deal with both, instead of saying I do, say I don't, we'll still have the reception, because as long as you make my child happy, I'm your best friend. If you don't make them happy, then I'm your worst enemy. You don't want that. So when I said for better, for worse, I meant it. And I'm happy to say that we had 55 years that were wonderful. And as this timeline, I thought you'd be interested in the timeline of how Norma has progressed in her Alzheimer's. And I say 55 years because in 2010, I think it was, yeah, that was the last year. And I've asked my children did this. I don't go back, I always go forward. And so I asked my children to prepare a timeline as to, from their recollection, to prepare a timeline as to how Mom progressed. And this is what they did. I think they did a great job. So subtracting 10, like I said, I have 55 years. Now, from 2010 forward, it's been a steady decline. And to all the things that Vivian said about Alzheimer's patient, I say amen. I've been through most of them. Don't look forward to seeing the rest of them. But that's reality. And we're all caregivers. We have to understand that, life is to be appreciated by the nanosecond and to be enjoyed by the nanosecond. And we're all mortal. And for 40 years, I didn't realize that. I thought I was going to be here forever, and then I had a pulmonary embolus and found out that, hey, St. Pete looked at me and said, thank goodness, I'm busy, go back and play. And from then on, I've had a greater appreciation for the few days that we have left on this earth. And of course, we're here to make 2 blades of grass grow where one grew before, and to leave this place a little better than when we found it. And I think we all try to do that. Now, as someone that's progressing towards Alzheimer's, because in that first picture, my cousin Margaret, who we went to her birthday party, she died a couple of years ago of Alzheimer's. And I have another first cousin that's in Jacksonville with Alzheimer's, and she seemed perfectly fine until she was about 85. And I visited a cousin in Spain who seemed pretty good until he was 90. And so I recognize that I'm progressing in that direction. And I also attended an Alzheimer's conference at Morton Plant Hospital Monday, where I was reminded that as a caregiver, I've got a 67% probability of predeceasing Norma. And that's not a happy thought, because as long as I'm here with help, I can take care of her at home. If I'm gone, then obviously the kid's not going to be able to handle it. She's going to go in, and that's not a good thought. Let's move on, because I'm off target, and I know that I'm running out of time. Let's go to the next slide. And the reason that Maria asked me to speak is because I've related to her how my wife's Alzheimer's has affected me. And being in the medical field, I thought I knew what Alzheimer's was like. Norma's father had Alzheimer's. His aunt had Alzheimer's. My uncle had Alzheimer's. And I, thought I knew what it was like. Wrong. When you start living with a person 24/7 that starts losing it, and you see someone that you love regress to someone that is not who you married, it breaks your heart. It really does. And I try to stay active. I try to stay busy. I do a lot of work in my yard. I do the cooking. I do the cleaning. And I enjoy most of that. And one night, I was in my outdoor shower, which is one of the things that I really enjoy doing, is in the summer especially, when I'm working, I go in, I shower, and I was looking at the moon, and I had, I guess, an epiphany. Because my thought came around, and when you look at my family picture, has that come up yet? I don't know, I lose track here. No, it hadn't come up yet. Let's progress to 2 more slides to my family picture, because my epiphany was, I thought about the picture of my cousin's birthday, where 2 of those came down with Alzheimer's. And I look at my family picture and I said, who's next? And by the way, that's Sophia and Ben up at the top there, new addition since our family reunion. And in that shower, looking up at the sky, I said, what do I do? What kind of inheritance do I want to give my children? And not that I'm that wealthy, because I'm a post-depression child. And when I said, with all my worldly goods I thee endow, the thought crossed my mind, there goes my bicycle. But I've been blessed. With my wife's help, I've been successful. And being post-depression, you know, my kids make fun of me because I'll go 5 blocks out of the way to save a penny on gas. And they think that's ridiculous. And I said, well, the difference is I didn't have a rich father. But when I think of wealth, I separate it. And I separate it into material wealth and eternal wealth. When I had that moment of adjustment at age 40 with that pulmonary embolus, that I was hit over the head with a 2x4 and said, dumbass, you are going to die, you're not immortal. I remember thinking, you know, I've got 3 children to put to school. I said, please, God, don't take me now. Let me finish my obligations. And he did. But it also made me understand that when your time comes, there's no baggage check-in. You don't take any of your material wealth that you've accumulated. The only thing you take is your eternal wealth. And I define eternal wealth as those things that you've accumulated that are centered around your family and your friends, primarily your memories of the good times and the good relationships that you have established here on earth. And if you are, as the good book says, loving yourself as thy neighbor, when you look up in the mirror in the morning, if you like the person that you see, you're at ease with yourself, and there's room in your heart to love a lot of people, including your family and your friends. And so the more family and friends that you love and you have good experiences with, the more baggage you're going to take in your brain or your soul, whatever, that is with you for the rest of your life. All the crap stays behind, I can assure you, because in that moment that I thought I was going to die at age 40, I had a quick rewind and a quick fast forward, and the only thing that came in that rewind and that fast forward, the memories of the good times. And so I've told all my friends, the key to living is to convert your material wealth into memories of good times. And in my case, in this moment of epiphany, the word came down, give your children an Alzheimer's-free existence. Those of you that have family with Alzheimer's probably feel as I do. If someone were to walk up right now and say, I can get Norma back the way she was in 2010, I would say, take everything I have willingly, without second thoughts, and let me start over again. I will transfer all my material wealth for that. That I can't do, I'm going to try to do for Sophia and Ben, for all my children and their children. And being a pharmacist and having experience in research, I said, well, how do I do this? How do I invest my wealth to where it will have an impact? And I'm not here forever. You know, conservatives see saying I'm going to be here maybe 30 years. You can laugh. But I said, how do I go about determining how to invest this money to meet my objectives? And let's go to the next slide that says my criteria for finding, next one. This is my criteria for finding a source where I could funnel my donations, whatever I can give, that will produce the best results. Experience I've had with a lot of charities are that, you know, in many cases, a good bit of what you donate doesn't go to the purpose. It goes to nice offices, plus salaries, and so forth. So I, again, being a post-depression child, value penny. And as I tell my children, money will not bring you happiness, but I can guarantee you that the lack of money will bring you misery. And so I wanted to invest my money where 100% of what I gave would go to Alzheimer's research, and I wanted to invest it with a group that was as committed as I was to make a difference and to accelerate the discovery process. And I didn't know how to go about doing that, but I started asking a lot of questions. And one of the things that I did was find out who some of the top research scientists are. And I spoke with the fellow that was heading up the Michael Fox Foundation, who had just shifted and started doing research in Los Angeles on Alzheimer's. And he was gracious enough, he gave me about an hour on the phone. And I told him what I was trying to do, and I said, if you were in my position, where would you put your money that would make a difference? And I spoke with a professor, chaired professor at Stanford University, who's one of the top Alzheimer's researchers, and I asked the same question. And I spoke with an award, the Goodies Award winner in Chicago, who is, again, a leading scientist, and he gave me the same thing. And the thing what they said was, invest it in basic science to where we better understand what this thing is, because as I was taught in management, you can't solve a problem that you don't understand. And unfortunately, a lot of the money, and billions of money, has been spent chasing a goal that wasn't based on fact, just on assumption. Patient's brain has amyloid, they have Alzheimer's, let's get rid of the amyloid. That doesn't work. It turns out that tau is more important. But unless we understand how the brain functions completely, which we don't yet, unless we understand how the process can be intervened to where we don't start losing brain cells as we mature, we're not going to get there. And so I started doing I thought about possibly starting a Nobel Prize, so to speak, and all of the researchers that I talked to said, money doesn't really motivate us. We're motivated by the goal of getting there. And so I looked and found an organization called Charity Navigator. You want to progress to the next slide? This is Charity Navigator's goal and their assessment of one of the organizations. I found two organizations that met my criteria in terms of 100% of my money going to research, very frugal, lean management, and good success in results. But of the two, There's only one that was recognized by Charity Navigator, which is an excellent organization, and they rate all charities. And any charity you want to donate to, if you'll go to Charity Navigator, they will give you a score. And Cure Alzheimer's has rated in top, it's the only one that rated as 4 stars, and they've rated them 4 stars since their inception for 8 years, which is great. I have met the CEO, Tim Armour. He's come down and we spent a day together. Guess what his salary is? Then move over to the next slide. I'll show you how much this is what they have generated in donations and where they put it, how many studies. His salary is $260,000 a year, and he lives just outside of Boston. And I said, Tim, how do you do it? He said, well, my wife is a professor of law, and we do it, and I'm committed. I want to find it. I have family that has it, and all of his staff have family. And who started Cure Alzheimer's? Some hedge fund managers in Chicago whose family has Alzheimer's, and they had the same epiphany I had, and they said, we want to make a difference. And they started checking, and of course, Harvard University is close by, and so they found some of the top people, and they found Tim, and they said, set up an organization that will provide us with an acceleration of the discovery to where we can help our families and those of all others that have problems. And they use their hedge fund mentality in operating this organization. And what they've done is that the founders pay all the operating expenses of Cure Alzheimer's. So 100% of what you donate goes to research. And I know my time is way the hell over, and I apologize for my wandering and my emotional thing, but I'll just say this way. I believe so strongly in this and I don't have a lot of time because a lot of my time is taken up just dealing with the house and the cooking and although I want to acknowledge 2 angels, because if anybody doesn't believe in angels, come talk to me. I will straighten you out. The reason I'm still alive and the reason I can still function is because 2 angels came into my life. One of them is Maria Weiner. God bless you, Maria. And the other one is, I believe in divine intervention. Can you believe that I was out? We had dogs. I'm a dog lover, animal lover. And when the last dog died, I told the wife I don't want to bury another dog, but I keep a big bowl of dog biscotti in my garage, and anybody in the neighborhood that comes by with a dog, I ask permission to give the dog a biscotti. And Pavlovian law works because from then on, anytime they come by, they want to stop. And I tell everybody that I have a few friends on Harbor Island where I live, all of my friends are dogs and a few people are friends. But when Lauriana Zakowski walked by, she moved in, and we got talking. She has a big black German Shepherd, Spartan, and we started talking. And Norma comes out of the garage door, and I explained to Lauriana that Norma had Alzheimer's, and boom, she says, I want to help you. I said, are you drunk? She said, no, I want to help you. One of Norma's problem among many is aphasia. Aphasia is a frontal lobe thing that she knows what she wants to say, but the words don't come out. And of all the things that I deal with, that is the most difficult because we can't have a conversation. And anything I ask her, she may say yes when she means no, no when she means yes. So guess what? This angel that is helping me every morning and throughout the day, she pops in, happens to have a master's degree in speech therapy. And so when she comes in the morning after breakfast, I have breakfast for her. She takes Norma, she takes her to the bathroom, and we're going to wash our hands. And she's given her speech therapy the whole time. Now, unfortunately, I recognize that the progressive aphasia that Norma has, even my angel, unless we have divine intervention and a miracle happens, it's not going to happen. I mean, she's not going to be able, we're not going to have normal conversation ever again, and that's not a happy thought. But I want Loriana Zukowski to stand up, and I want to give her a big hand. Where are you, Loriana? Loriana and Maria have made it possible for me to not take action that every caregiver thinks, whether they admit it or not. In fact, not too long ago, when I spent an afternoon, you know, up and down to the toilet, changing diapers and all, I asked Norma, I said, Norma, are you tired of this? Are you ready to go? Because if you're, I'll go with you. And she said, no. I said, okay, I'm with you to the end. God bless y'all. I apologize for the laundry. Thank you. I don't know how to say thank you to this wonderful angel or Loriana. I mean, angels do exist.
Thank you, Bonnie. I should have known better. I got to give him 45 minutes.